addiction to Vocaloid all started with Sonic? Sonic Crossworlds came out a few weeks ago and features that blue-haired girl we all know, Amy.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The Sonic Racing franchise is pretty infamous for having weird-ass crossover characters at this point. Transformed, you know, the one for Wii U that was left in the back corner of GameStop for $15, had Pyro and Heavy from TF2, along with, Danica Patrick. Yeah, I never really understood that one. Anyway, this game continues that trend and has such titular crossover characters like Joker from Persona, the Yakuza reaction meme guy, and fucking SpongeBob. But the only one I actually cared about was Hatsune Miku.
That's what I've been waiting for! That's what it's all about! Woo!
I had never really been into Miku that much before, but I always really liked her design, and I knew that I was going to be playing her in this game. On a whim, though, I decided to go through the game's jukebox feature, and I stumbled upon a song made by Camellia using Miku for this game. It is a banger of a song. It's called Jet Black. If you're interested, I'll link it below. But I'm fucking warning you, listening to this song is a path to reading the Vocaloid wiki at 4 AM while listening to Bird Brain on repeat. You know how it goes. The YouTube algorithm sees you watch one video of something and is then like, fatten them up with videos of the synth voice girls, and then we harvest them for ad revenue. What a fucking insane rabbit hole the Vocaloid / synth voice scene is. This fucker here is called Kasane Teto, and like me, her birth was a complete joke. No, I'm serious. She was literally created as a fake Vocaloid using a shareware software called Utao, which technically makes her an Udaloid, and wait, no, don't go yet. I haven't even told you about her new redesign where she's wearing a white bow and... Okay, I knew I should have put you in chains. They always run away when I get to this part. Anyway, the lore on these fuckers goes crazy. I've read Tito's whole lore entry, and I'm still not exactly sure I understand the part where she went from a joke on 4chan to a brand new voice bank on Synthesizer V. That's the really fun part of Tito, in my opinion. Unlike Miku and most of the other Vocaloids, Tito very definitively has an old voice bank in Utao and a new one with Synth V. You can do some very cool things story-wise with this, like in Spoken For, where her original voice is used as her true voice. But also, the general consensus seems to be that Utao Tito is much harder to work with, but is very good at screaming like an insane person. It's also very charming, in my opinion. But, oh my god, there's so many incredible songs by these two. Mesmerizer, Machine Love, Bird Brain, Rolling Girl. I could probably list dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of songs. The incredible thing about Vocaloid is thinking, well, I think I've listened to most of the bangers, and then you go, oh shit, here's 10 more. Another classic occurrence when listening to Vocaloid music is, oh, this one looks neat, I wonder who it's made by. What the fuck? The Vocaloid Ussie is as deep or as shallow as you want it to be. If you want to only listen to Miku songs, you can do that. If you want to listen to an Utaloid made from queso, you can also do that. No, I'm not kidding, it's real. Look it up. Case by case. I haven't even talked about the other Vocaloids, which are actual Vocaloids if you care about that. Kagami, Rin and Len, and Megari and Luca. That's mostly because I haven't looked into these two yet, but the wiki has a pretty comprehensive list of Vocaloid songs, so I'll go through that at some point. The incredible thing about Vocaloids, or whatever you want to call them, is that they are entirely community-driven. And I'm not just talking about the songs, but also the characterization. Miku is commonly associated with the leak, but, no writer came up with that shit. No, the community just created a meme, and then that became a character trait, that Miku now likes leaks. Even to this day, there is no official This Is Miku source material out there. She has an anime, but that's just one iteration of Miku. All of the Vocaloids are just singing dolls that the community imprints onto however they want. Miku can be a teenage girl in love or a crazy stalker. Alright, I have to inject on behalf of my past self here really quick because I already can see the comments coming. This is a totally wrong interpretation of this, of monitoring by Deca27. I think probably what likely is happening in this song, after reading the comments and also rewatching the MV for myself, is probably more that the person who is being talked to by Miku in this song, the person that's in the room, it hasn't come out for a while. Miku's just checking on them because she's concerned, but the person inside the room is misinterpreting it either as she's interested in them sexually, or they're misinterpreting it as she's mocking them. So yeah, I just had to point that out. Anyways, back to the video. This allows songs to tell all kinds of different stories. In Mesmerizer, Miku and Tito are put under a spell that causes them to go crazy, but Tito resists it. At least that is one potential interpretation. Static shows a Miku who's afraid of being forgotten and is telling listeners to remember the good old days. And then there's Gumi. Gumi is kind of a weird one because she's technically a Megpoid, but also who cares? Anyway, Gumi is another incredible Vocaloid. From my experience, she is generally used for just about everything. And I know I said before that Miku and Tito don't have official characterizations, but I do think that they have common characterizations. Like, we see Miku is generally a typical idol. She is a cute teenage girl idol, she loves her fans, she loves to sing, and then there's Tito, who is like sort of similar to that, but just like goofier, memeier, as like a result of her origin, I would say. A bit of a goofball, kind of like shown before in some songs like Bird Rain that she's maybe a little lost in life. And then we have songs that sort of break out of those common characterizations, like Miku has basically any Deco 27 song like Monitoring, or again just any song really that Deco 27 makes. And then for Tito you have songs like Spoken For, where it gets very serious, whereas most Tito songs tend to be kind of weird, I would say. But with Gumi, you don't really have that. There is no like, oh, this is the common Gumi characterization. I think the closest thing you'll get to is like, I saw a YouTube comment about this, I'll post it here if I found it. They were like, she's like a diva, or they called her like a diva. I think that's the kind of closest thing you could get, as Gumi is kind of portrayed as like a badass. Like in Matryoshka, she's kind of portrayed as like a fighter character. That's kind of the closest thing you'll get, but even then I wouldn't really say that it's a common characterization. I'd also say that unlike Tito and Miku, where I think both of them have like definitive songs, I would say like the definitive for Tito is probably like Spoken For or Bird Brain, and Miku has like Melt or World Is Mine. I don't know if Gumi has like the Gumi song. Like, she has like all the Canaria songs, she has Echo, but I don't know if there's like, this is the song that defines Gumi, as much as it's just like, this is a really popular and good song that uses Gumi, if that makes any sense. Like, it didn't define her as a character, and people didn't use that characterization going forward for most things. It just feels like sort of Gumi is the most moldable of the Vocaloids, the most malleable of the Vocaloids, because she doesn't have like a commonly accepted characterization, which makes her really interesting. There's also just random Vocaloids out there like Sweet Anne, who's made from an Australian singer, or Lag Train, which is sung by a Vocaloid who I guess is the only ever child Vocaloid, at least that I know of anyway. There's also Vocaloids like Flower, who I've heard are popular, but I haven't listened to anything from them quite yet. The crazy thing about getting deep into Vocaloid is that I didn't even realize I had already been listening to music by Vocaloid producers. I'd already listened to King from various VTuber covers, and I assumed it was an anime opening. Nope, Gumi Song by Canaria. Override entered my playlist a few weeks before Sonic Racing, and again, I thought it was an anime opening. At the time, I didn't know who Tito was. Drop Pop Candy was added to my Spotify playlist probably well over a year ago at this point, and I didn't even know one of the original iterations of it was sung by Rin and Luca. This song here is Miku versus Teto, but I didn't even know because in Spotify, it's entirely in Japanese characters. You could probably say I'm unobservant for not noticing the voice in this as Miku, and you'd be right, but genuinely I thought it was just a normal person. Getting into Vocaloid is like being autistic. I didn't become a Vocaloid fan, I realized I was a Vocaloid fan. Before this, I was pretty fixated entirely on K-pop, but holy fuck, my Vocaloid autism out-power-scaled my K-pop autism like a Dragon Ball Super character. The other thing I've noticed about my journey into the Vocaloid sphere is that I'm listening to music like a dedicated thing. It's so fun to explore new songs that it's a hobby in its own right. Even when I started getting into K-pop, it was mostly through Spotify recommendations, but I feel like I'm exploring music on my own for the first time ever. I think I'm only getting started, but so far this Vocaloid journey has come out of nowhere and been amazing. I highly recommend looking up some Miku songs or just going through the list on the wiki. You might even find out that you've listened to some of them before. Who knows? Either way, you're in for a treat, so go listen to Bird Brain. It's really good. Okay, bye.